Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 11.1 Storm. We are back.
I am the storm that's approaching.
We're back to the opening of Arc 11. Oh my god.
Does Arc 11 have an anime opening?
Yeah, it's fucking epic, but it's not in the first episode. This one has the credits over the episodes.
The second you said yeah, my instinct went to like the fucking Soul Eater opening. You know, Black Paper Moon?
Yeah.
That's just like, of course, that's the opening, even though I know nothing about this arc. Oh, man, dude. Speaking of openings, I was rewatching Part 5, and I forgot how good the Part 5 opening is.
Gold, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, we're not here about JoJo. We're here about motherfucking Aetheral Space. And we gotta enjoy it while we last, guys, because Dune is also working on a web serial. Last episode.
No, this is the last episode, so you have to savor this fucking video.
I did it! Aetheral Space is over!
Oh, and who's going to replace me? Dragon Hadrian is the main character. Comes out of Gemini Worlds. You didn't think
you absolutely have to pull that in a chapter, even if it's like an IF chapter. Someone has to like seemingly kill Dragon and be like,
would say that.
Yeah! I did it! Arc 2 is over!
Oh. What steps out of Gemini Worlds, and he's going to replace me as the main character.
It's such a good line.
The one time to break the fourth wall.
It's so good. It's so good. No one argues with it. It's just good. Anyway, I was doing something. Oh yeah, reading Aetheral Space. Last time on Aetheral Space, Musashi officially accepted himself that he is not Negan, he is Musashi, although he still went and saw Negan's sister, and she was like, "Can you leave?" And he defeated Kojiro, and then as he was going about his business on a ship, he saw a video that... Oh, by the way, you're echoing me.
Oh, is that better?
Let me see. I think so. We need to fix that audio of yours. But after that, I think it was labeled like 5 hours after Skipper's kidnapping,
yeah.
We saw a video of Skipper, quotation marks, basically challenging the Supreme and being like, "Come and get some, bitch." And then the Supreme, the dust fell off his body, and he was like, "Finally, a worthy opponent." And then that's where it ended, I believe. Did I miss anything?
Exactly, yeah. And also, Gretchen lives on as a fucking cursed dagger.
Oh yeah, she just casually put her consciousness in a weapon that was picked up. Yeah, she's Anubis now. Don't break her dagger. Or throw her in the Nile.
I went through the wall by accident.
Shit, I panicked and went through the wall. No, Gretchen. We love JoJo's here. You can tell we all have the brain right now that Good Trouble is officially
out. It's made of 3 portions. There's a 1/3 Star Wars, 1/3 Hunter x Hunter, 1/3 JoJo.
I will say... I can't say this because that's a spoiler for Part 2. Never mind. Or Session 2. Okay, no, we're 3 minutes in, we have to read. I'm reading now. 2 minutes after Avaman's assault. The sound of clicking heels echoed through the cavernous hallways of the Shisha. Paradise Karen frowned to herself as she walked to her destination. The Shisha was the crowning achievement of supremacist technology, and it was also a pioneer in the art of wasting space. These corridors were so tall and wide that huge parts of them were bathed in shadow, the effort of lighting them fully being unfeasible. And so, the seat of power for the most advanced nation in the galaxy felt perpetually abandoned. Ridiculous. Once she was in charge, there would be some changes. The entirety of the Shisha would be modified, keeping the unholy amount of firepower and automatics, but cutting down on the excess. It would be her, it would be the supremacy's spearhead, not its totem. So, see, we've already... This is why you need me in this world.
You are a hope.
This is literally my only job. You've already gotten so good at, like, keeping your stuff in mind. All I am is the it's corrector. When it came to weaponry, pragmatism was the most important thing. Spectacle was best left at the door. She'd be a hypocrite if she denounced excess entirely, of course. Her own appearance was proof of that. Today, she'd chosen to extend her hair and dye it a mysterious black, long enough to brush against the floor as she walked. A white dress shirt with a ruffled collar was embraced by a black corset and a long pleated skirt. Red face paint ran across her features in a fishnet pattern, and eerie white contacts rested over her pupils. When she was young, she'd been deprived of the trappings of civilization. The closest they'd had to the concept of fashion was putting a pretty flower in your hair. Now that she was free of all that, she was determined to enjoy this world to the fullest, no matter what devils she had to deal with. She reached her destination, a bulky elevator located in the middle of a junction, guarded by 2 truly gargantuan automatics. Each was 12 feet tall, their entire bodies decorated with firearms and weaponry. They were made by Halcyon Automatics, the same corporation that had built the Hellhound's current body. Needless to say, the best that money could buy. They did not move in the slightest as Paradise strolled by them and into the elevator. She'd gotten herself access to this part of the Shisha long ago, once she'd realized what it held. Now it as good as belonged to her. The doors to the elevator slid shut, but it took a moment for it to begin descending. If Paradise hadn't had access, that was the moment she would have been incinerated. She expected she'd be able to hold up against the flames for a good long while, given her strength, but eventually even she would succumb. The message was clear all the same. No intruders could be allowed down here. I've also decided when I come across characters whose voices I don't remember, I may have a new voice and you will have to deal with it. I can't handle the existential dread of being Paradise Characters. She waited patiently as the elevator descended and descended and why is only the middle descended? What the fuck? As the elevator descended, and descended and descended. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't know why it did that. It's throwing me off.
It's
right into the heart of the ship. In stark contrast to the vast space of the rest of the vessel, the elevator was tiny, and Paradise Karen could barely avoid scraping her head against the ceiling. She'd taken this trip many times, though. She knew exactly how long it would take. 1 minute and 21 seconds, with the lift conducting various biometric tests as it descended. She doubted there was any other screening process in the galaxy as thorough as this. Yes, the Shisha was a wonder of technology. A single ship capable of taking on an entire planet's military all by itself. Enough automatics to launch an independent invasion. Efficient enough that, if needed, it could be operated by a crew of just 1 person. The common myth went that there were only 5 people aboard the Shisha at any given time. The Supreme and his 4 contenders. But that wasn't quite true. Since the day the Supreme had ascended to the throne, the Shisha had played host to another person entirely. Yes, the prisoner. Once the elevator doors opened, Paradise had to pass through 6 more quarantine seals to get to the containment chamber. Crews of workers marched to and fro, conducting repairs on vital equipment. This facility was one of the few things the Supreme seemed to care about. Long ago, he'd left a constant order for the cage to be kept in top condition. "Anything I should know?" Paradise asked as the warden stepped up alongside her, scurrying to match her pace. The warden, a weaselly-looking man with a thin mustache, shook his head. "Nothing I can say. The prisoner hasn't spoken for several months now, not since the time you last visited." "How sweet." Paradise pursed her lips. "Has he been fed since then?" The warden shook his head again. "Any sign of starvation?" Paradise asked a question she already knew the answer to. And again, the warden shook her head.
The 2 of them... He didn't grab her head and shake it.
The 2 of them came to the final door, a massive steel gate, secured with additional bars and locks, and red alarms began to blare as it slowly opened. The scraping was such that the warden and other nearby workers had to slap their hands over their ears. Paradise didn't, of course. "Please keep in mind," the warden called out over the screeching metal, "you must not disclose any confidential information." "I'll do as I like," Paradise said stoically, stepping through the gap between the doors. Fucking Sigma music starts playing. The heat of the containment... yeah. The heat of the containment chamber was immense, but that made only... I assume that only made sense. You better fix this after we're done reading it.
Sure.
The Royal Road Readers will abandon you for this. But that only made sense. It was built directly into the engine itself. Paradise looked up to behold the cage's one and only occupant. Yeah. Is this a voice I should know?
No. That was a mysterious entity.
"Hello again, Paradise," the prisoner said. The prisoner was a strange one to look at. His dark hair was perpetually arranged in some strange cross between a bowl cut and a mullet, two long strands hanging down and framing his face like the antennae of an insect. His pupils were the same dead black, those calm eyes looking down at paradise like twin abysses. His skin was a stark snow white, and that was not from lack of sunlight. He'd been the same since he first arrived nearly 70 years ago. He was wearing the same clothes as when he'd first gotten here, too. A black straitjacket with the arms and legs tightly bound. More than 100 chains of pure neverwire suspended him above a pit that terminated in the fiery abyss of the engine core. At the first sign of danger, he could be dropped in, annihilating him. If that bothered him any, though, he didn't show it. He didn't even sweat. "It's good to see you, too," Paradise called up, her loud voice carried even further by the acoustics of the massive room. "How have you been?" The prisoner did not answer the question. "Bolte Kojiro has been taken to Greyhound Asylum. That's quite a loss for you, isn't it?" Paradise frowned. This was the way most of her conversations with the prisoner went. There was something about his voice, that high, soft voice, that came from his lip. This is only Tanoni's fault when he refuses to tell me any details about the voice. What was I doing? Oh, that high, soft voice that came from his lips and somehow permeated the entire chamber. It radiated utter benevolence and sincerity, and yet as he spoke, your brain would whisper to you, "That's a demon," it would say. "That's a demon you're listening to. That's hell you're walking into." Not to mention the fact he just mentioned Bolte Kojiro. She knew for a fact that this man had no means of receiving information about the outside world, and yet he never seemed to run out of topics of conversation. "He's replaceable," Paradise said casually, "although I'll admit losing control of the air is a blow. I'll have to take steps to thank Itoi Musashi for that little inconvenience." The closest thing Paradise Karen had to a character flaw was her faith in the competence of others. Too often had that trust been betrayed. She'd thought Baltate would be an exception to that, but clearly not. So high a voice. "I'd recommend you deal with Itoi Musashi as soon as possible," the prisoner said softly, chains tinkling slightly from his minimal movement. "Whether you kill him or bring him over to your side, it doesn't even matter if you're successful or not. What's important is the fact that you respond. If there's a response, then the situation becomes a struggle between two parties. If there isn't, then it's an undeniable surrender. That is the one thing you must avoid at all costs." This was the reason Paradise had worked so hard to have access to the prisoner. Without fail, every bit of counsel he'd given her had allowed her even greater prestige and glory. He had that kind of sinister wisdom to him. Of course, she had no doubt that this advice had some ulterior purpose. More, ulterior motive, maybe? Some trap to bring ruin to her in the end. The prisoner was that kind of person, but so long as Paradise approached these situations carefully, and with the foresight born of experience, such traps could never be sprung. She was not the sort of person who fell victim to these things. A person who's about to fall victim to a trap later in the arc. She crossed her arms, pacing across the walkway. "That's easy enough for you to say, old man." The prisoner frowned. "Old man, you're hurting my feelings." "Even if you haven't aged in 70 years, it doesn't change the fact that time's passed. You can tell me to respond to the situation all you like, but that's easier said than done. You've been living it up here at Hotel Shisha, so perhaps you've forgotten. A response needs an actual strategy." The prisoner's calm smile returned. "You'll have your opportunity for that soon. Our man is going to fetch something important to both him and the Supreme." "He told you this?" "No. He should be getting his hands on it soon, though. A very interesting situation will then develop. Sorry, I don't know precisely what it will be, so I can't tell you. But you'll have your opportunity there. To kill him or to make him your friend. Well, I can't make your decisions for you. I have faith that you'll do the right thing." Paradise tapped her foot against the grating below, considering the prisoner's words. "This situation, then. It'll happen soon?" "Before the day is out." She stopped her pacing, looking right up at the hanging prisoner once again. Oh, he's like the hanged man! "You realize, of course," she said, "that I wouldn't have to wait for opportunities like this if you just did as I asked. Fight the Supreme for me. He'd accept in an instant, and I could finish him off while he's distracted." "I'm much too weak to manage something like that. It sounds scary. Besides, do you really think a Supreme would be weak enough to be defeated by a tactic like that?" "I don't know." Paradise's eyelid twitched. "You really just do whatever you want, don't you?" The prisoner cocked his head innocently. "I don't know what you mean, though. I'm locked up here. I really can't do anything that I want. It's sad." Oh my god, that absolutely is a tan line.
The prisoner is basically me, yeah. It's sad.
Well, oh no, so sad. Well, he could say whatever he wanted. Paradise had the information she'd wanted. She didn't look back at him as she marched out of the containment chamber, or as the doors slowly sealed themselves shut behind her. But she was sure that, if she did look, she would see that man smiling. He was a bastard, after all. 2 hours after Avaman's assault. Skipper made no sound when he woke up. The pace of his breathing did not shift, nor did his eyes open. Both of those things were outside of his conscious control. They weren't skills that could be learned. They had to be drilled into you, body and soul. He listened. The hum of an engine, high model, moving fast, but not as fast as it could be. When he'd first woken up, it had been going at full power, the vessel zooming in a straight line. But now they seemed to be maneuvering their way through some kind of obstacle, a debris field, maybe. Skipper was suspended against some kind of slab, his arms and legs firmly restrained. He reached for his aether and found it absent. There was Neverwire somewhere in this, then, maybe baked into the restraints themselves. With just his mundane body, he didn't have the strength to break free. He couldn't hear the breathing of that man, but he knew that he was not alone. There was no way they'd risk leaving him. "You're awake, aren't you?" "You're awake, aren't you, Zachariah?" Alone. Skipper opened his eyes. He'd expected it to take a second for his eyes to adjust, but the inside of the ship was dark enough that wasn't a problem. He took in his surroundings quickly. A small ship, barely bigger than a freighter, all black metal. Barely bigger than a fighter. I was about to say a freighter's pretty big. Barely bigger than a fighter, all black metal and jagged edges. The kind of ship a videograph film would ride around in. Skipper couldn't imagine what kind of person would actually choose to reside in a place like this. Can I tell you, in my mind's eye, I'm envisioning, like, Star Fox's ship, but black and red?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have to imagine. That person was looking right at him, and they had his face. Avaman the announcer, first contender of the supremacy, looked him up and down. What decides what order you are of contender?
It's order of joining.
Okay, so, like, presumably there was he wasn't always the first.
No, he's the first.
Ever?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Are contenders new to this Supreme? I thought it was like an old tradition.
No, this is unique to this Supreme.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not think that was in the lore. Okay, that's interesting. Well, I guess before, other Supremes would just either kill people or they would win.
Yeah, they had their own stuff going on.
Yeah, because, like, that was always a policy. Like, if you kill a Supreme, you become them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's the only one who'd, like, turned them into his loyalist soldiers. Avaman the announcer, first contender of the supremacy, looked him up and down. He was still wearing that dark purple cloak, the black bodysuit beneath like a hole in space, but he'd left his mask on the dash. There was nothing impeding Skipper's view of his own younger features. Yeah, so much younger. The wrinkles were gone, and the traces of gray Skipper had found in his own hair were nowhere to be found in the doppelgangers. Don't forget an apostrophe there. Those same green eyes burned back at him, shining with a darker sort of determination than the kind Skipper was used to. That face was twisted into a sort of contempt that Skipper had never seen before, too. This is fucked up, because isn't this the contender that, like, sucks the Supreme's dick all day?
Yeah.
Oh, no. The same face, but a different mind entirely. Look at you, Avaman muttered in Skipper's own voice, just slightly higher. Oh, fuck you.
Well, just so...
How do I do that now? Hold on. Testing. It was so easy. Wake, what's so special about you? How's that?
You had some helium, I see.
Okay, fuck you. You know what? You're getting the same voice for both of them.
Okay, yeah, but maybe like
that's all you're getting.
Voices, that's just what I mean.
I'm gonna kill you. How about that? It was so easy. Wake, what's so special about you?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Banter came automatically to Skipper's lips. I'd say my dashing good looks, but you seem to have me beaten that. Slap! His head jerked to the side, cutting him off as if he'd been struck by an invisible hand. He tasted the metal tang of blood on his tongue and spat it gracelessly onto the floor. So that was how this was going to go. Pathetic! Avaman wrinkled his nose. I could have easily avoided such an attack. Skipper shrugged as much as he was able. Well, get the snubber wire off me, pal, and I might be able to show off a little. I'm no fool, Esmeralda. I'll give you no opportunity to play your little tricks. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? The lengths I've gone to? Skipper grinned. Those lengths can't have been that long, if you only just caught me now. Silence! If you wanted silence, Skipper yawned, you should have gagged me. So, if we're talking about ourselves, where'd you come from? You meant to be my secret love child or something? Obviously, Skipper didn't think that, but it was probably best to get the story from Avaman's own mouth. Does this mean Skipper canonically doesn't fuck? Or does Skipper always wear protection? Oh, what? The guy with the most Riz in the galaxy? I can't believe this.
He's like fucking Naruto with the ankle weights.
This is fucked up. I don't believe this. This is not canon in my mind. Skipper has sex all the time. Avaman glared.
No interest. I don't know what to tell you.
Impossible. Avaman glared.
Skipper,
I have no obligation. Skipper, asexual Chad. Avaman glared. I have no obligation to tell you anything, traitor. Oh, but you do want to, don't you? Skipper grinned. Be honest. More than anything, you want to rub this in my face. Show me just how fucked I am, yeah? The stoic look of Avaman's face lingered heroically for a moment, but eventually his lips did curl into a smirk. I love the way that's written, like schoolyard gossip. You were the one that quickened the Supreme's heart, he whispered. Your attack brought him back to life, if only for a short time. His subjects thought that you would make a fine gift for him, win them favor. One group sought to bring you back, but that took so very long, and the fruits of their effort were stolen. The other group sought simply to replicate, and they made me an exact replica. Oh, whew, Skipper whistled. Gloating, huh? That's kind of a taboo, yeah? Sometimes foolish rules must be broken for the sake of greatness. I feel insane right now, doing this dialogue, by the way. That's what you are, then? Skipper laughed. Greatness. You've got kind of an ego, huh? Avaman lunged forward, lightning fast, and seized Skipper by the throat with one gloved hand. Their faces were inches from each other, Avaman snarling, while Skipper's remained defiantly calm, the wisdom of age. Hot breath buffeted over Skipper's skin like the respiration of a wild beast. I could snap your neck, you know, Avaman hissed. Easily! Do it, then. For a good long second, Avaman actually seemed to consider following through. His fingers curled around Skipper's throat, tightened just slightly, and then he relinquished his grip. No, he shook his head. When I deliver you to the Supreme, I will be praised above all others. I wouldn't put my own petty satisfaction above that. Aw, Skipper chuckled, and Daddy will finally love you. That's a long shot, kid. Say what you want, old man, Avaman sneered, returning to his seat and turning back to the controls. Your mockery will soon be paid back in, oh, what's this now? Skipper gulped. What? Avaman glanced over his shoulder and grinned. It was the kind of grin... I love every time you say he grinned, because I can't help but read it devilishly. It was the kind of grin that Skipper had never expected to see on his own face, no matter how young. It was a wide, ugly thing, open mouth like a void of malice. Behind him, through the window...
This is the moment where it zooms in, it's super realistic for some reason.
I can only imagine it like the fucking Scary Monsters smile in Part 7. Ugh. Behind him, through the window, Skipper could see the distant light of a starship approaching. He couldn't see the vessel from here, but he already knew. Oh, he thought. Oh, you idiots! What are you doing? It seems your friends have come to rescue you, Esmeralda. Avaman laughed. What do you think? Shall we kill them? And like a master with his piano, his hands danced over the controls. Oh, I'm so... So, tell me this.
Yeah.
Why did this Supreme, decide to have contenders instead of just killing them? Was it because he was bored and wanted someone else to do his work?
Well, that and he likes having people who are strong around him. Interesting.
What's your fun fact for this week?
My fun fact for this week, Halcyon Automatics is a subset of Halcyon Interstellar, which we've heard of before. It's the biggest corporation in the Supremacy. And they have big relations with the body, so they have a lot of pull. They have lobbying going on.
Fun fact, their 20th most profitable customer was Samael Ambrosio's Echoes.
Is that how they rank customers, the most profitable customers?
Yeah, who spent the most, I assume. I have noticed a new meta that Tanoni is employing that I'm not totally against.
What's the meta?
Where he will slip the name of a company or thing once in the chapter. That makes for an easy fun fact to elaborate on.
You fool, I've been doing it for 11 arcs now.
I know, I've noticed. I've just finally put it together.
No, it all comes back later, don't worry.
Nice. Alright, good chapter, good start to the arc. Very curious to see where things go from here.
Yeah,
I hope people...
It's going to be a big fucking arc.
I can imagine. I hope people like the skipper on skipper action. That was insane for my voice. My throat feels incorrect. Don't forget to post this new version of Royal Road with all the grammar edits and whatnot.
I will.
Alright, and with that, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye! Bye.